caskets are still scattered around a Louisiana community as residents struggle to recover from Hurricane Ida. Some of those caskets are still sitting there almost 4 weeks after the Category 4 storm, as residents work to salvage anything they can from their homes and prepare for the grueling process of rebuilding. "It caused people to be in disarray," said Haywood Johnson, the pastor of St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church in Ironton. "They are shocked by the magnitude of the destruction, but they are even more so overwhelmed by their loved ones floating and ending up landing in the streets and people's yards and on the side of the levee and out in the field, and it's just overwhelming." Ironton sits on the west bank of the Mississippi River in Plaquemines Parish, about 25 miles southeast of New Orleans. The all-black community is very tight-knit, and families have lived there for generations, Johnson said. "One of the things that bothered me is that I was the one that buried most of those people, most of the deceased, and it was like pulling the scab off of a wound," Johnson said. The caskets were enclosed in above-ground tombs made of cement and other heavy materials. Johnson said is still looking for the caskets of his mother, his uncle and his sister. And he hasn't been able to get to some parts of the cemetery to assess other family tombs. "The search for missing loved ones is complicated by the high grass, marsh mud and snakes," Johnson said.
Members of the Louisiana Cemetery Response Task Force and its contractors were in Ironton on Tuesday to see what is needed to recover the caskets and get them to a staging area where they can be identified before they are returned to their proper resting places. "It's not something you can do without heavy equipment," said Task Force Chairman Ryan Seidman, who noted that some of the caskets and their vaults weighed tons. "When I was out in this community cemetery, I was up to my knees in muck. So finding the purchase for a crane or some other kind of to get a hold and be able to lift these heavy weights is going to be a challenge," he said. Seidman estimates that at least 30 to 40 caskets and vaults were displaced. But he said the task force would have a better idea in the coming weeks as they clean out the site. "Levee overwhelmed," Posh said. The levees near Ironton and other communities in the area weren't built by the federal government and are basically mounds of dirt. They offered little protection from the storm surge when Ida made landfall near Port Fortune, southwest of Ironton, on August 29 with winds of 150 miles per hour, according to the National Weather Service. "So we had all the water being blown in from that counterclockwise circulation out of the Gulf and then the rain that came with it," Posh said. Hurricane Ida knocked out power to more than 1.1 million customers in Louisiana, state officials said. More than 10,000 people still did not have electricity as of September 24, according to PowerOutage.us. "We figured that's the last time," Johnson said. "But this time here with Ida, it's like nothing that I ever seen in my life. I've been in hurricanes, but I've never seen one like this. No one is living in Ironton right now," Johnson said, because houses that were elevated suffered storm damage and those that were at ground level were completely decimated. Parish debris crews have begun picking up materials placed on the side of the road as residents clean out their homes. Additionally, Parish President Kirk Lepin has asked FEMA for authorization to remove debris from private property, according to a post on the Plaquemines Parish Government Facebook page. "The National Guard has been working to clear the roads in Ironton, but that effort has been slow because there's still standing water," the post said. FEMA is also encouraging residents to apply for housing and other disaster assistance. Johnson said everything on the first floor of the church was ruined, but he plans to rebuild again. "That's the house of the Lord and it's my responsibility to take the initiative to do that," he said. "It is heartbreaking," Truphant Salvant told WVUE. "We've gone through this so many times before and only answer to all of this would be levee protection." Posh said the Corps of Engineers is working on 2 separate projects to improve the levees in the parish and the contracts should be awarded in November. Work would start in December or January, he said, and it would take about 2 years to build miles of 10 to 14-foot tall levees. Long road ahead. Water from Hurricane Ida also dislodged tombs in Jefferson Parish, Seidman said, and wind damage and fallen trees have damaged cemeteries all the way up to near the Mississippi border. He said the task force has been getting calls from Ironton and other areas impacted by Ida. "What we're hearing from them is, we've got a casket, or we've got a vault in our yard, But it's not that they're calling because it's a nuisance, he said. They are calling us because that's someone's loved one and we want to see them treated right. In 2006, in the wake of Hurricane Katrina, Louisiana passed a law requiring all caskets to have a permanent label with the decedent's name, date of death and the funeral home that handled the burial. Seidman said identifying everyone and getting them back to a restored cemetery could take up to 2 years. The process is so intensive, to make sure that we're getting it right, he said. We don't want to get somebody buried in the wrong place or reburied in the wrong place.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.